So in tonight's video, I'm going to bring you up to date on some new information regarding the situation with Ebola. And I'm also going to address a somewhat controversial topic. Now that the story has made its way onto the primary platforms, the primary news platforms, they don't want to necessarily be associated with channels like the Florida Maquis because, of course, we're always fake news conspiracy theory, even though we were completely right about this a month ago when nobody was talking about it. They want to set the rules now. They want to say, okay, it is an issue, and you do need to be concerned about it, and maybe we need to start talking about it, but we're going to say what you can say and what you can't say about it, and we're going to be the authority. Well, I'm going to show you directly how much the authority on this has absolutely no clue what's going on. Now, we know, you and I know, powers that be think that CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Alphabet, Google, would you call those reputable news sources? Well, I mean, not you and I, but I think they would refer to themselves that way. Let's put it that way. So we're going to use those sources, and we're going to show you something in this video that they contradict themselves, meaning that one of them would have to call the other fake news. So, but real quick, back to the picture. See, we'll start with this because people would say, well, clearly that image that you're using, that's fake news. There's Ebola doesn't exist in your eye floaters. Well, really? Well, I can go right here to CNN from May 8th, 2015, and here they're talking about an American doctor declared free of Ebola finds the virus in his eye months later. In his eye months later. So is that fake news? Was my picture fake news, or is CNN fake news? Which one? I mean, clearly they agree, so either they're both right or they're both wrong. Now, also, I would like to go right to, let's see, where is it? Washington Post. We'll start here. All right. Why latest Ebola outbreak raises alarms far and wide. Now, this is June 12, 5:49 p.m. Ebola, one of the deadliest diseases on earth, blah, blah, blah. Fatality rate, numbers from the Congo. Okay, and containment effort, all this kind of stuff. Well, look at this. 3. Where does Ebola come from? Scientists say the virus that causes Ebola jumps to humans through contact with secretions from animals such as chimpanzees, gorillas, and bats that are infected with it. The virus passes among people through direct contact with the bodily fluids of someone who is infected with the disease or has died from it. Medical workers and family members are most at risk. Ebola doesn't travel through the air, making it less easily transmitted than many other pathogens. Really, as long as proper healthcare practices are followed. That's an interesting thing, because if that's what the Washington Post is reporting, let's go take a quick look here at Google. Good old-fashioned Google. Now, just type in Ebola. Go over here to the right. I'm going to zoom in on this. I've done this before. Now, let's see what Alphabet says. Alphabet Incorporated, Google, YouTube, states that it spreads by animals or insects. By blood products, by, well, saliva, but by touching a contaminated surface, a blanket or doorknob. Wait a minute. Hold on. That's not what the Washington Post just said. That's completely different. I mean, who remembers our Ebola-proof fence? Oh, yeah, here it is. Our Ebola-proof fence. Because we have one person on one side of it that is safe from the person on the other side of it. Clearly, sneezes that travel 100 miles an hour couldn't possibly affect one or the other. A mosquito that lands on one and then flies it through the air to the other side of the fence and contaminate someone else. So which one is it that's fake news? Is it Washington Post that is the one that is putting out false information? Or is it Alphabet, Google, YouTube? Which one? I can't figure that out. Now here's where I'm going to shock a lot of people. Well, actually, let's go here real quick just to show what we're talking about. Ebola outbreak in Africa spreads fake news in America. This is The Hill. And once again, they have their information wrong as well. False rumors in an infodemic. So now, putting out the information that the World Health Organization, the CDC, the International Red Cross, and a half a dozen other governments were calling, this was being reported on late last year and all of early of this year in international media, just not here. My very first couple of videos, I used the quotes from these people, David Miliband being one of them, saying this is why we need to worry about this, because these authority figures, these world-level authority figures are saying it's the worst we've ever seen. It's out of control. We don't have any gauge on it. Up to a fourth of the cases are going unreported. The vaccine isn't stopping the spread. Those are all quotes. So I don't know what you, and now we have Kenya that's starting to screen travelers. Other than the one little boy, now we have 2 more cases across the border in Uganda. But here's where I'm going to shock people. I'm really going to stun some folks. Absolutely, totally, 100% right. Honest, if you travel there, no, you don't get to come back. Absolutely not. Because remember, back in 2014, and I'm going to show you this too, because there was this idiocy that, this was back before the current leader was president, and he said this, then you had all these people trashing him for saying this. But down here, and let's just read this real quick, the U.S. cannot allow Ebola-infected people back. People that go to faraway places to help out are great, must suffer the consequences. In this particular case, yeah. So, of course, they want to make it like it's some big corporate issue. But down here, this woman puts up this ridiculous flowchart. And let's see, here it is. Okay, are you concerned about Ebola? Yes or no? And then no means good. If you are, have you had direct contact with the fluids of an infected person? No. Please shut the fuck up. But what do we know now? What do we know? You don't have to have contact with the bodily fluids of an infected person. How do we know this? Because there was a person, a doctor, that came back to this country who was declared Ebola-free, who was still sick, and he died. And 2 nurses came real close to it in 14. But this is the kind of crap that was being put out as what you should think, how you should follow. So when you go to Twitter, when you go to Facebook, or when you go to all these different places, and you're going to see a lot of experts that are going to come out of the woodwork, who are going to have a lot of things to say and a lot of stuff to regurgitate from the 2014, show them what, first of all, is reported right here on Google, Alphabet, YouTube, about how it transmits. Show the contradiction with the Washington Post. Show the story from CNN from just a couple years ago. This was 2015, so 4 years ago. And show them also the stories that show the CDC and the World Health Organization and the International Red Cross specifically stating they don't know how it's spreading, because 75 to 80% of the new cases had no contacts with known cases. Let me say that again better. 70 to 80% of the new cases had no direct physical contact or any type of contact whatsoever with the people that had died or known cases, meaning it's transmitting some way, somehow, other than through direct contact with someone who's already infected. Period. That's fact. And that's from the World Health Organization, not some crazy McKee guy on YouTube. Go back through all of my videos, and you will see nothing but quotes and links to facts from people who know. In fact, there was one guy, and I forgot to cover it. Let's see if I can find it here. New Ebola outbreak in DRC is truly frightening, says Wellcome Trust director 2 hours ago. The head of a major medical research charity has called the latest outbreak of Ebola in Central Africa truly frightening. 1,400 people have died in the DRC. Dr. Jeremy Farrar, the director of the Wellcome Trust, said the epidemic was the worst since that of 2013 to 16 and has shown no sign of stopping. And it's spreading. They have found it on both sides of the Congo, that country on the continent of Africa. They found the major outbreak on the eastern side, and now they found the latest outbreak way over on the western side. And they don't have any idea how that's happening. They don't know where patient 1 is or who patient 0 is. And they've also come out and said that more than likely, at least a quarter of the cases aren't being reported. And it's a war zone. People are traveling all over the place. This isn't hyperbole. This is fact. This is provable, linkable fact. And make sure if you're going to go onto your social media and talk about this, that you have those facts, you have those links, and you use their language, not your own. That's why you see me, not talk about the whole border situation much. Because that's going to be a trap. That's going to be something where they're going to try to get you in some kind of soft racism or something. Just leave that part alone. Leave that whole episode of it alone. The thing about Laredo and all that, not confirmable. But this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You mark my words, it might be the number one issue in 2020 for the election. And I'm going to say that right here and now. Like, share, subscribe.